The other thing that maybe Gellner might say to your perception is that when you go, I mean, and he doesn't talk about Japan, although I think he would have difficulty with Japan. But I think with China and India, in a sense, you say actually the way to look at China is not as a nation state, but as a civilization. And I suppose Gellner would say, well, there you have it. The fact that it's different and it is enchanted in the way that he didn't realize, but you've said that it is. One of the things that therefore it can't be is a nation state in the model of the European.
Why can't
because it's a civilization rather than a nation state? It's
well,
too big.
civilizations can be nation states. I mean, you can say that America is a civilization, although it's perhaps part of North America, and it's a nation state. It's part of the Anglosphere. And Europe is a civilization with nation states within it. You could have either had it you could have had, the southern nation state and the northern nation state and so on and so on. The reason why China is, and I talked about this in my Dartmouth lecture, I can't remember if I sent you the link, but I'll send it to you, trying to explain to American audience the way to think of China as a galactic entity. It's not even a civilization in the Western civilizational sense. It's the Middle Kingdom with the galaxy of powers around it. And the reason why China, I mean, it's getting closer now. I mean, I think the Gellner test of going to some remote part of China and saying who you are, I think more and more people would now say, well, I'm Chinese. And this is because of the internet and the government and the confrontation with other places and so on and so on. So, and the educational system. So I think there is the national imagined community of China is building up into something which is not so far from what he was talking about. But traditionally, until say 20, 30 years ago, it was a hopeless idea for the same reason, but on a larger scale than France. I mean, the Languedoc and the Languedoc are different languages. The different parts of France are different countries. Their marriage customs, their kinship systems, all their rituals, their material culture, there is as different. I mean, northern France is as different from southern France as southern France is from Italy. They are different countries. And China's like that. I mean, they speak different languages, Cantonese, Mandarin, and then within them, they're mutually incomprehensible. I mean, if you've got countries, I mean, Hunan or Zhejiang or Yunnan are the size of France, each of them the size of France. And within them, they have many minorities. They have entirely different histories. They have different material cultures. So it's as if you had the whole of Western Europe, the whole of Eastern Europe, the whole of Western China, and bits of the Middle East in one country. Now, how can that be unified into an imagined community? Because all that actually holds it together, and you wonder how it is nothing to do with sentiment or imagined unity. It's a written language, Mandarin. So wherever you go, when you write, everyone understands you. And wherever you go, you are subject to the emperor. So at some point, it goes up to the emperor. And wherever you go, you share a basic muddled group of philosophical systems, Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism. So even in remote parts of Sichuan or Yunnan, you can write a similar language. You are subject to the emperor, and you are Taoist, Buddhist, Confucians. So you're united at a certain level, but beyond that, you're really, really disunited. And you only have to, I remember realizing this is also the case in India, which is why it's not really a nation either. I remember a striking example of this, talking to Andre Bataille about doing field work in your own civilization or country. And at a certain point when I was being trained, we were trained in the era where you were told you must go somewhere else where there is a culture shock. Otherwise, you really won't experience what anthropology is about. So I said to Andre at a time when anthropologists in India were he himself and his teacher Srinivas and others wrote their monographs about other parts of India. And I said to Andre, isn't this a bit cheating, or, you're not real? And he said, Alan, look, in India, if you go 100 yards, you're in a different civilization. Parts of India are so different. Their language, their religion, their history, their culture. And you can so when I send my students down to Kerala or up to Uttar Pradesh or whatever, it's as if you were sending someone to the Nagaland. I mean, Nagaland is another example. So within India, you can have real culture shock. And I did when I went to my village.
Yeah, I think